Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast. It's a two for this week for Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger and the ZenkaiRed special. I am Vashi V, and joining me today is
Right. All right. Proper timeline of events. You've
Sounds good.
got the first 5 or 6 episodes of Zenkaiger, and then the All Red movie happens, which we haven't seen, uh, but it's your standard Sentai team up, but with
Yeah,
Reds. And they take on a villain that's just a fusion of a bunch of past villains, dubbed Super Villain World.
that explains the joke now.
I mean, I assume that's what the joke was. I didn't actually look it up.
I didn't either, but that makes sense that that's the joke.
Um, and that is followed up by the ZenkaiRed special. Uh, and it's more or less the same monster, but it's normal villain world.
He spends pretty much the entire episode just spouting off names of previous villains.
Uh, so, ZenkaiRed. Um, Kaito is uh, having some doubts about himself because after the big red team up, he realized he was the only white there.
Right, like in turn, because the majority of Sentai, it's the red that leads the charge.
Even if they're not the actual leader of the team, like the red is the one that is, the center figure for the show.
I.e., several particular Reds that were never leaders. Um, Alita is the easiest example.
Right, Ghost
There's Goseiger.
Siger, none of them were the leader, which was the point. If one of them was going to be the leader, it would have been Red, but he wasn't.
Right.
Um,
There's another that I will specifically get into for later in the special because
right.
that still irritates the ever loving hell out of me.
Um, but then you've got situations like a Geki Ranger where, oh, Yellow was the leader. Although, if you ask me, that was in name only because she didn't do anything.
Right. Like, and there are some that are in name only. One in particular is in name only.
Uh, that you're right. Deca Pink. She thought she was the leader the entire show.
Wait, she wasn't? Changes my entire perception of that show.
Oh. At the end, when Bon is leaving, he's like, Umiko is the new leader. And she's just like, but Umiko was always the leader.
Uh, I fully accept that she was leader. I don't care what Bond says.
Ah. So yeah, Kaito wakes up from a nightmare about being shunned for not being a red, which I assume isn't what happened in the movie. I assume it was just more of a shock factor of like, you're not a red? Oh, okay.
Right. Which, to be fair, yeah, it's a little shocking given the history of Sentai.
Uh, but Kaito is still bothered by it because he's not. He isn't sure if he's a true leader if he's not red. However, he doesn't talk to his team about this, and they draw the wrong conclusion from his actions and think that he's upset because his team is full of Kikainoids rather than humans.
Like, I can see every single one of them making that mistake. Um, the biggest one I can see making that mistake specifically is Gowan.
Who is the one that brings it up?
Right. And then
Because
everybody else latching on to it.
because
Like,
all they know is that Kaito is acting strangely, like he's upset about something, and all the only thing Kaito told them is like, "Hey, aren't we kind of different from regular Sentai?"
which again, very much a value and a reasonable leap because that is very different.
Um, Monster attack and in battle, Kaito is a bit more clumsy than normal because he hasn't been sleeping well lately.
Of course, he's not been sweeping well. That's Vroom's job. I couldn't pass that one up.
I talk for a living.
I don't.
I, um, so yeah, when it seems like the enemy is about to get the upper hand on them, someone steps in and saves the day. A mysterious figure proclaiming himself to be ZenkaiRed.
I do want to point out, and this will be a joke that maybe 5 people in our audience may get. This is after, in his clumsiness, Kaito tries to pull a caboose. He tries to team kill. It's a comment for about Red versus Blue.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Caboose, he 90% of what he does is team kill.
Yeah, no, Kaito takes the shot, but he misses and shoots his own teammate.
Um, I will admit, for a character introduction, I like Senkai Reds.
Oh, he's awesome.
Like out of every member of the Zenkaigers, this one is literally the most badass.
So yeah, he proclaims himself to be uh, the true Zenkaiger, and that he will form the true Zenkaiger team.
The ways this could have gone.
Right?
Like this, like if they had taken this and made it a full arc in the show, it would have been amazing.
Um, so they question back at the restaurant. They question like, how does he have the gear liner though? Kaido's parents only made 5 of them. There shouldn't be another one. But then he just walks into the store in human form, like, I have one because I have the first one because I'm the first Zenkaiger. Just spouting nonsense like that as if it makes sense.
Which in so I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that a little bit. Um, in terms of like inventors and stuff like that, there's always the prototype. I mean, you just go back and watch O's for that. There's always a prototype, so this could very much well be the prototype to the finished product.
Yeah, but then we find out later.
Yeah. I'm just for that particular moment, like
In
it's an acceptable statement, given that that's an engineering process.
in a way, it kind of was a prototype.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, this would be for yeah. I'll
So,
accept it.
on the villain side of thing, Bakuwas is pissed. Like, why do they have another member? And his bird name
Gauge,
Gage.
gauge.
Gage. It's like, if Red becomes the leader, like normal, wouldn't they become stronger? But Ijirude insists, like, no, I have a plan, alright? I got this monster, right? We got this all figured out.
Boy, did he! It's note time, isn't it?
what
Is it note time?
what note?
The one, the world, the dual note. Is it time for that yet?
What the fuck are you talking about?
The one that Kaito gets and reads. The dual note and no TE.
Oh,
Is that now or is that in a little bit?
um, that is later. That is not
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
They encounter the monster once before that happens. God, I forgot about that. I was so super confused.
And like I was trying to word it without like if it wasn't time of spoiling it.
It's like, Jesse, what the hell are you talking about?
Shut up, James. Wow, Buffett. This podcast is going to derail a lot. I can see.
No, it's because I wasn't referencing anything Pokemon related.
Oh, that's just where my brain went.
It's okay. So to explain the joke, in Breaking Bad,
Okay, yeah, that's
there.
all you needed to say. I get it. I get
Oh, okay.
it. My brain went Pokemon for some reason. I'm a dumbass.
So, anyways, uh, Zenkai Red, basically declares that he's going to form the true Zenkaiger team, and tells the others they can follow him if they want to, and then he leaves to go fight the monster, and then they're like, "What a dick!" And I don't want to follow him, but if I don't, then I'll kind of prove him right, and so Gowan's just like, "Screw it, we need to go fight the monster," and then he turns human.
And doesn't realize it right away, which I feel that was a nice touch.
And everyone just stands there baffled, but they don't have time to dwell on it because there's a monster to go fight.
Like those are the moments in the show in these type of shows that like add a little bit to the story. Um, because they acknowledge that something happened, but they don't have time to deal with it.
So they go to transform, and Gowan can't transform, which
Dun, dun,
is
dun.
interesting. Uh, Keep in mind that, like I said before, it seems like these gears were a bit too specific to work with Kikanoids.
Right.
Um, so because Gowan can't transform and he's a helpless human, the others kind of just shield him during the fight, so they can't fight back properly. So ZenkaiRed just puts him off as pathetic.
Which makes sense for a cocky ass.
Then he transforms, and is a badass.
Yeah.
His
Also,
gear is also 45. It's cool.
like it's that and his gun makes a plasma blade, and it's just badass.
And
And honestly, as much as I hate to admit it, I like the red suit better.
oh, it's really cool. And like, so for the others, when they transform, it calls out their name. Like Zenkai Jurin, Zenkai Gowan. Kaito is Zenkaiser, but for him, it calls out Zenkaiger, because that's what the team name would be if you had a full team doing this.
Which makes sense for how this plays out.
And while they all have their power, like Himitsu power, Kiryu power based on whatever Sentai gear they're using, though, for him, it's red power. It's its color designation.
Which again makes sense because of later things.
So, like, Yeah, pretty much. Like you're looking at this is like if Zenkaiger was a more standard Sentai, this is what we would have gotten.
Yes.
He is literally the leader of a team that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Uh,
I kind of want to see like some future nod to the fact to this and see the full team.
uh,
Like I would love it, even if it just plays out the same way that this plays out.
I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of him though.
Dude, if we have, that's gonna be disappointing.
um, so yeah, after the fight, the monster runs away, and ZenkaiRed heads off on his own, telling the others that they can follow him if they want to. Gowon decides to follow him. The others don't have time to go after him though because Majin has now turned into a human. And part one ends with the rest of them looking at her like, "Are we sure this is really Majin? None of us saw her turn human, so."
I did like the whole them trying to like run around and discern whether or not it was Magine, but like looking at the bow and all of that. That was
Play
that was
hopscotch.
funny. Because Durin would know.
And I believe all the actors here are the voice actors for them.
Nope,
No?
all entirely different people.
Wow.
Um, and only one of them seems to have done anything else in Tokusatsu.
Juran, right?
Yep, he was in Amazons.
Yeah.
And as Pixie could put it, of course, that's the route they went with him.
Because he's the oldest one of the group, so they need a veteran actor to play
So
him.
they literally got like it would have only been better if they got like Goshi,
Which one was
considering
Ghost?
Goshi Black,
Oh.
because he is still around. Well, he was as of 5 years ago
Hmm.
or 10 years ago. When the fuck was Gokaiger 35?
Yeah, that was 10 years ago.
God damn, 10 years ago. It doesn't feel like it's been 10 years.
Ugh. So, you jump into part two, and Majin is getting used to being human because she lost all of her fortune telling abilities.
Such a shame.
And so now she's just stuffing her face with comfort food.
And to be fair, I feel I'd do the same. I can relate. And a pound and a half of cheese in my fridge would agree.
She's gonna be working hard to pay all that off, though. She grabbed a lot. So Kaito receives a special note.
Oh god.
It is an invitation from Normal Villain World, uh, who is glad to see the team in good health and request that they attend a climactic duel to the finish at this scheduled location and time.
This was a fantastic joke for two reasons. One, the slow read of it. And to include that little confusion when uh even in writing he wrote normal. Oh, and also the fact of like your brain goes to the fact that it was ZenkaiRed who sent it, because that's where my brain went. It's like, ooh, duel time for who's gonna lead the team. And it's like, no, it was the bad guy.
I
Oh,
don't. I don't think I thought it was Zenkai Red because it's like, no, this isn't his style. And then it was the monster, and I was like, wait, what? Why is it so polite? uh, so,
I
uh,
forget the way they explained it, but I have a feeling it's just because of the type of monster he is.
Kaito tells the others to go to the location while he goes to get Gowon. He catches up with Gowon and Zenkai Red, and Gowon's like, "Oh man, I knew you'd find me with that trail of breadcrumbs I left behind." And Kaito's
What
like,
trail?
"What? What? What trail? What breadcrumbs? How did you find me then?" "Oh, I just guessed, and here you are." Man, I like my gut is on par today.
No wonder he selected the fucking Q Ranger key.
Anyways, we gotta
Or
go fight a
Q.
monster. Zenkai Red, you come too.
It's one of those, like, might as well come on.
Because Kaito gets along with others. He doesn't.
Even when he doesn't, he's like people who are like clearly this is somebody I shouldn't like.
Right. Like, Zenkai Red has, like, basically been calling him obsolete the entire time, and Kaito has taken zero offense to it.
He's like, okay, and we got stuff to do, dude.
We can worry about this after we fight the monster. The others along the way also turn into human.
I will admit, I enjoy. I liked Joran's outfit.
Uh,
Like that. That was a pretty good outfit.
so, uh, before we get to the fight, though, Kaito approaches Gao and is like, "Yeah, you left to find out how you turned human, right? Which is what happened." Gowan was pretty sure that he turned human because of Zenkai Red, and asked Zenkai Red to turn him back because as a human, he can't protect humans. As a Kikai Noid, he can, because like he's a strong machine person and he can transform, but he can't do that as a human.
Like, because this all comes up in episode 7, doesn't it?
Some of it, yes.
Like, it's why like this is such a perfect time to watch it because it does streamline into episode 7 with all of that. Like, it's it shows the level of commitment that Gowan has, and as much as he hates Kikanoids, it starts to be that little peek into why. Because it's as you will find out in the next episode, there's a specific reason why.
Zenkai Red takes the lead and assembles the others to transform alongside him. But, just as Gowan couldn't transform earlier, the Kikai Noids cannot transform as humans. In fact, even Zenkai Red is incapable of transforming. Uh, because as we find out, he he got his Gearling or whatever it's called,
Yeah, the Geertlinger.
from the monster. Uh, Normal World had approached him and given it to him, saying like, my dream is to be defeated by a true Sentai. Take this and transform.
Because of course that's the plan of the monster.
Uh, and then the others were turning into humans because of him. And
To fit along within that delusion.
right, and as humans, they can't transform. Ergo, the Zenkaigers basically don't exist, with Kaito being the only one that can transform at this point.
Ergo, Kaito's easier to defeat. Like, it's an ingenious plan.
Yeah, I know this was a great plan,
It's convoluted as all hell.
but it almost worked. The
Yeah,
one factor they couldn't account for was Kaito.
because of course.
Um, and like the Kikai Noids, even as human, will still fight to try and protect Zenkai Red. Uh, and Kaito befriending Zenkai Red and explain to him that they're comrades and they will always stand up and fight no matter what. Uh, that trust and friendship brings back Zenkai Red's Gearlanger in gear, allowing him to transform properly this time. The Kikai Noids turn back into the Kikai Noids, and Henshin and
Start
roll
wrecking
call.
shit, and then start wrecking shit.
And the bang bang, I'm loving the spinning that they do,
Oh yes,
and so
like
getting it.
like it, it's even more enjoyable to me when they're doing like the lineup pose because it's two, then two, then like it's not one at a time or all at once.
And you know you got Zenkaiger and Zenkai Red doing it this time. Like I can't wait to get our sixth member so that we can get like a 3-3.
But from the looks of it, that's not how it's gonna work
It's not.
for him. He has an entirely different transformation system.
That doesn't mean it won't go bang bang.
Right, but you know, considering the last few changes that they've done, like the transformations haven't matched up.
Even if his doesn't work that way, like he can still do it because the other guns will do it.
Yeah, more just to do the joke, like to fill out that trope that they seem to be shooting for.
Or they'll give him his own thing similar to it.
Like the way that Kyu Ryuger, he still did the dance, but it was
Yeah, it was a different answer. Or like Kanalo with his Ryusol.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, they use the Lupin Ranger and Pot Ranger gears this
Did
time.
you have you finally have your answer,
Yes, they are two different gears, both labeled the same number.
just with different images.
42. Yeah, because the
What?
images are
Because
all
one
the
has loop hat, and one has
they all have the
yeah.
reds on them, so this is just two 42 gears.
Yep, one for each.
But it's just the standard like Lupin Ranger and Power Ranger finisher, like nothing too special.
With just a hint of their old seizure-inducing special effects.
And then Normal World achieves his true goal. Because Supervillain World didn't turn into a giant monster when he was defeated. But this time, Normal Villain World has achieved that.
I will admit, I did enjoy the I do and salute at the end of their finisher too. By the way, um, but this is not how I expected the mech fight to work with this because you know what I expected.
You have two mechs, why would you not have two pilots?
Because you now have two pilots.
Instead,
Why is not there one in each?
you just got the two pilots in one mech, while Vroon and Magine stay on the ground to fight grunts for some reason.
Yeah, that was unnecessary.
But whatever, we get our big laser beam finisher.
I'm tired of the laser beams.
Hmm, too
I've been
bad.
tired of laser beams.
At least the one we got in the actual episode was like unique.
Right. Like I'm okay with the majority of what we get in um Zenkaiger because we do still get actual fighting. Not a lot because every friggin' monster is a weirdo gimmick. We
Right.
we literally had one that was throwing sushi at people,
It,
but
the
like
problem is that Key Ranger kind of made us salty about it because it was just four
every
mech,
oh
and no matter what combination they used, it just amounted to the same laser beam every time.
right
And that was how every fight went. At least here, it's like, yeah, it's a bunch of garish effects, but like, they slash their sword and like shove their
you know
shield in his face and stuff. Like
and
they fight him.
right we have a little bit of the fight, not as much as I would prefer, but they did my favorite. They did the best thing they could have in episode 7. But in the end, it's like this was a decent fight for the purpose that it served, which was literally for Kaito to go, look, see, isn't this awesome?
Back on the ground, uh, Zenkai Red still has his gear. Uh, and Kaito is like, well, it was born from your heart this time, right? And Zenkai Red goes, that doesn't make sense. And Kaito goes, who cares? You gear is still here. This is something to celebrate.
I like the point of him going, this is asinine. Like them at least pointing out, because this is a trope in, especially in Sentai, a lot, where the powers get lost, but something triggers a memory, or ex machina, they come back because power of friendship, whatever. Um, but for a character to go, no, that was some bullshit. And the rest of the team to basically go, yeah, who the hell cares? Are you complaining?
Kaito asks Zenkai Red what his real name is, um, but he refuses to tell them until he becomes the true leader of the Zenkaigers, and takes his leave. Uh, then Kaito starts to wonder, like, can a leader really only be red? And out of nowhere,
To
he's
be fair, before you continue, to be fair, how this ends, this makes sense.
out of nowhere. Kaito is visited by the spirits of previous Sentai team leaders, some of which were white and some of which were red, but their suits were dominantly white.
Or in like the case of Pat Brand Ichigo, they weren't called by color.
Yeah. And then you have Lucky in his Orion suit, which Vashi hates.
Some goddamn bullshit. There is no person alive, and because I discussed this with King a little bit, because I kind of explained the special with her. Um, you can't tell me that a character is not a red when he spent 40 of the some odd episodes transforming into red, and then into this form for the 5 episodes he had it.
The whole reason they gave him a white suit power up was to distinguish him from the other red they introduced in the show.
Right.
And you're getting mad at them for using it.
I'm not getting mad at them using it. I'm getting mad at them trying to classify him as a non-red leader.
In that suit, he was white.
Right. But his base form was red. Like even when he had that suit, he still transformed into Shishi Red.
Right. Yes, he was a red and a white member of the team.
I don't count it. I will never count it.
Which is a completely different issue than I have, because my issue is that Lucky wasn't the leader of the team. He literally turned down the position.
Yeah, but everybody followed him ways because you know Wolfman had a hard on for him.
Did you say pardon?
I said hard on.
That's not what I heard.
What you heard was probably better than what I said. To be fair.
Anyways,
But yeah, like he wasn't like you said, he wasn't a leader. And hell, even in the last episode, he transformed into Shishi Red. So
and
he was red.
and like quick dissection of Lucky's actions to determine whether or not he was a leader. Like even in actions, not in name. He did help bring together the members of the team, so that's a point in his favor. And he was a big point of motivation for the team. So those are some points in favor for him being the leader.
There's one more point in his favor:
Okay.
riding the meteor down to the planet.
He was also pretty fucking awesome sometimes. um, but missions, deployment, like tactics.
Like he ultimately had no say in decisions because to be fair, that was all Ryu Commander.
Which, to be
To me,
fair, sometimes
Ryu Commander was more leader than Lucky, except he wasn't a ranger the entire time,
right.
and half the time he couldn't transform because he was injured.
Like, so yeah. To be fair, like there are plenty of Sentai where like they have both a commander and a team leader who's more of like the squad leader out in the field. However, Ryu Commander was both.
Yeah,
This isn't a Deca Master situation where he refused to transform unless he was absolutely needed. Like, no, Ryu Commander went out whenever he had the opportunity to do so. He just didn't always have that opportunity.
like and the other detriment to him is what 10 episodes in they actually introduced the what became the leader of the team.
Yeah, and then you have that's all of what I said doesn't even take into account Ho Soldier.
Right. Who literally becomes the leader of the goddamn team. But, Lucky was main red, so he gets focus.
So,
But at
anyways,
least, anyways, back to the episode.
yeah.
I
So
was amazed they got her back.
so yeah. While most of the characters are suits, they got Ninja White, Tsuruhime. Was that her name?
I think, or at least close enough.
Or like maybe it was Sugihime? I don't remember. They got Ninja White's actress back. And basically, she explains it kind of was like, hey, it doesn't matter what color you are, what matters is your spirit. You have the spirit of the team's leader, embrace it. And then Kaito wakes up from his dream in the restaurant, and he asks the others about ZenkaiRed, and none of them know who that is. And Kaito questions if it was a dream or not for about 2 seconds before moving on, because Gawan made food and they all sit down and eat.
I mean, that's a good reason to move on. Food will definitely get my attention from whatever the hell is going on. But yes, it was Tsuruhime, by the way.
Tsuruhime. Okay, is that what I said first?
Yes. But yeah, the fact that they got her back 10 years after her last appearance, because she was in Gokaiger.
Yeah, for 2 seconds.
Well, yeah, but she was still in it.
Yeah, she was still there. And the ending with them all sitting around the table eating is just so wholesome and fun and puts a big smile on my face. And this is the kind of sense of normalcy you need to have to establish how crazy it is when they're out there fighting monsters.
Right. Or even just them outside of the house, because that shit's still insane too.
Like, if you never have this grounded realism where they can just be normal, and everything is just turned up to 11 all the time, it kind of loses meaning when it is.
Sounds like somebody's complaining about Saber.
I know that the last couple of episodes have been good, but I'm still upset.
I mean, that's still a gripe, especially given the fact that show very much wants to emulate a big portion of Ryuki and that major writer versus writer thing that they want to do that they still haven't figured out how to do. It's something that is sorely lacking in that show that Ryuki mastered. Um, but anyways, more on that
More on
next
that
week.
when, yeah.
That is
Um,
next week, isn't it?
yeah. By the way, I didn't. I need to grab this week's episode of Saber from you.
I've yeah, I've got it. I'll send it to you.
Uh, so, now comes the speculation point. Was that all really just a dream?
I will say so. I'm not out. I'm not outshining that the dream somehow affected reality because that's not the craziest thing that's happened in Sentai. For an explanation of where somebody got their powers, I mean that's literally where somebody got their powers because Gokai Silver had a dream.
All right, let me offer a counterpoint. How did ZenkaiRed get his powers?
He was given them to by the bad guy
But what did they when the villains were talking about him? What did they say?
that they wanted to be defeated by the true Zenkaiger.
No. When the villains were talking to each other about ZenkaiRed, like behind his back,
I don't remember.
they said ZenkaiRed was born from the delusions of a loser. Does that sound familiar to you?
Season 3 confirmed.
I think that was season 3. For anyone who hasn't caught on yet, I am referencing Akiba Ranger, an unofficial Sentai series about three otakus, who have delusions of being a Sentai team. Sound familiar?
Which is also made by the company that made the official show.
Yeah, it's made by Toei. It's officially unofficial.
So that actually brings up something. Um. So, every year the toys get hacked, and they figure out all the sounds and stuff that you can make with it.
They found Akiba Ranger files, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. The gun will make Akiba Ranger sounds. It's not understood what will be needed to actually make them, but by connecting wires, playing code, or whatever through however the hell they're doing it,
Now,
it is at least in the memory bank.
Now, say everything that happened this special was not real. It was all a one big delusion. It's not impossible to pull that back into the main show in a later episode, though. Because that was a big plot point in Akiba Ranger. In season 1, the first half, everything they do is just delusions that they're having in their own fantasy world.
Right.
But in the second half of the show, their delusions get so strong they pull it into the real world.
Which, I mean, that's a major point for the entire second season too.
Right, and in the second season, things that happen in the delusion world, like changes that are made, end up affecting reality and changing history to reflect that. And the Kiba Rangers are the ones who remember the true history, so they have to correct it. So at one point, someone misremembers, or rather, they misinterpret that the relationship between Sentai and Power Rangers and get it backwards. And so reality changes to reflect that, and you lose 15 years of Sentai history.
God, that show was bonkers.
So what I'm saying is that we probably haven't seen the last of Zenkai Red, and he might be an Akiba Ranger stand-in.
I could accept that. That would be awesome.
We have been going for 45 minutes. Do
Yeah,
we do we want to go on to the actual episode, or do we want to maybe pick this up tomorrow, or
I feel that would be better because there's a fair bit to unpack with episode 7.
okay. So we'll pick this up again tomorrow. We'll rename the podcast to reflect that, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you all for listening. I apologize for, splitting this in half.